Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole because I am intentionally not letting my neighbor in, causing her and her dog to sit outside in the dark? I live in an apartment block. To access the property after 8 p.m. you must carry your front door key with you. We were all told this prior to moving in. A tenant has moved in downstairs and she leaves the back door unlocked to allow herself to come and go without taking her key. She isn't supposed to do this, and she has been told multiple times to take her front door key in case the door locks, which she has ignored. She has started treating me like a literal doorman, knocking loudly on my windows and repeatedly buzzing my apartment to try to get me to open the door for her. It is daily and it riles up my dog every time, and it always occurs after 9 p.m. I have let her in twice in good faith, then told her the third time to take her key and that I will no longer be answering. She decided to go out with her dog this evening and again didn't bother to take her key, when she started buzzing and knocking on my windows loudly. I shut off my buzzer, gave my dog a treat and closed the doors, deciding to ignore her and continue watching my movie instead. This is where I could be the a-hole. It's dark out at the moment, late, and she's outside by herself with her dog. She's been out there for about 45 minutes. We also live in a shady area, not dangerous but definitely not pleasant at night. She has been sat outside on the doorstep on her phone angrily ranting about me to her friends, like I'm her dad. I don't know this woman aside from her treating me like a concierge. Am I the a-hole? Edit for update. I opened the door. I said I wouldn't, but quite frankly, I literally couldn't go to sleep knowing she and her dog were out there. I went downstairs and opened the door and told her that this was the last time and I will be reporting to management and calling the police if she knocks on my windows anymore. I'm gonna just hope that a few hours outside has got the message across. Sorry for everyone who told me not to give in, but it's nearing midnight here and as much as she pissed me off I'm not about to leave her out there. Top comments. Report her to management every single time. It may take a while, but she will either stop or get kicked out. They have liability if they know and anyone ever comes in who should not, steals, or worse, harms someone. If they don't seem to take this seriously, tell them. Give an example, someone with DV in their past or someone on drugs who is a friend of a resident, and these types come in to hurt someone, the management is on the hook for any and all costs to the tenants and building, including medical. OP replies. I am 100% calling the management tomorrow to lodge a report against her. It is literally 10 p.m. at night and she is still knocking on my windows. Not the a-hole. Some people feel entitled to everything and think everyone else lives to make them favors, and they don't even see those as favors. You did everything right and in a civil way before taking action. You helped her even when she was being rude and an inconvenience. You talked to her about it and warned her that you wouldn't be opening for her again. And yet she decided to do it again. How come you are in the wrong for not answering but she is just fine by knocking on your door during the evening multiple times and on purpose? I do feel the consequences are a bit harsh, but that's on her. She was getting used to using you for her convenience only. She needs to learn one way or another that people are not there to serve her purposes and comfort, and having someone help you when you are in need is different than taking advantage. Where the hell do you live that an apartment building is unlocked at all, ever? OP replies. The access button is active from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's for postmen/visitors. It's the standard practice for all the flat blocks in our area. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I don't care that her house is bigger and cheaper than mine? My sister, 24F, and I, 26M, grew up in a small town that I pretty much got chased out of. I ended up a couple hours away in Chicago. I absolutely love it here. There's things open after 7 p.m., I can walk and take transit everywhere, and there's actual jobs for disabled people like me. A few months ago, I bought a house in the middle of my lease. It's an 800 square feet bungalow in a lovely neighborhood that didn't need any work at all. It cost $220,000. For comparison, my sister bought a 20-year-old 2,400 square feet house for $170,000 last year. In our hometown, my house would go for maybe $80,000. She's not in a bad area or anything, it just has nothing to offer young people who haven't lived there for several generations. My sister came over yesterday to see the house for the first time, which was an event in itself because she's scared of Chicago. She liked the photos and called it a good starter home. I planned to live here forever, but was pretty disappointed when she actually got to look around. She claimed it was barely bigger than a studio apartment. She asked how much I paid. I told her, and she said, I literally paid $50,000 less for something much newer, prettier, and 3 times the size. I went, okay. Congrats, but I don't care. I'd rather buy somewhere I actually want to live even if it costs more. She accused me of being condescending, and said that I shouldn't act like I'm too good for our hometown. I told her I wanted to move past this, and offered to walk with her to the KFC a couple blocks away. She said she'd rather go home, and that I should reimburse her for gas since she drove all the way out, 2 hours, to see me, only for her to have to leave after half an hour because of my attitude. I told her I wouldn't be doing that and that she chose to leave, and she went, "You've turned into a complete jerk ever since you moved here." I told her to leave, and she left. I'm not sure who's the a-hole here because we aren't the type to involve family in our arguments. But she's telling her friends who are apparently saying I'm a jerk who just wanted to humiliate a woman. Edit, thank you everybody for your replies. Maybe half an hour after posting this, I tripped on some uneven sidewalk and broke my phone. I had to get it replaced, thank goodness for iCloud, and the cashier just gave me really bad anxiety. Just know that I appreciate all the comments even if I can't respond right now. Edit 2, just wanted to clear some things up. I got such a good deal because a friend of my aunt had to go into assisted living. She wanted to sell it as soon as possible. I was able to pay in cash, and she gave me a good deal because she knew I was looking and that I'd take great care of it. I'm also in a shady, according to tech brothers who never leave the north side area. Also, somebody mentioned that I shouldn't look down on my hometown. I will, and I'm not sorry for it. I faced a lot of discrimination, and I had to leave because a group of people made it their mission to harass me because they didn't like the way I was born. Top comments. Not the a-hole. It's your money to spend on whatever house you want. She doesn't live there, who cares if she likes it? I hope you're happy in your home. Opie replies. Unpainted wood trim, oak hardwood floors, a sunroom, and stained glass windows? You bet I am. When I first started looking, I wanted to get a fixer-upper of a similar age, make everything white, and install vinyl flooring. I'm so glad I didn't. You're the condescending one. She literally spoke down to you bragging about the size and price of her house. Not the a-hole Opie. The only one with an attitude is your sourpuss of a sister. Not the a-hole. There was no reason for her to keep bragging about her house even when you explained your reasons for paying as much as you did. She was the one who chose to belittle your home which you were happy with, then expected that you pay for gas because you supposedly had her leave when she slandered your home, then proceeded to call you a jerk. I hope you like your new home, regardless of what anyone says. Next story. Am I the a-hole for using my nickname exclusively in school, even in our school newsletter? My full name is Alexander, but I, 16M, go by Lex. My mom hates it. She always calls me Alexander and has asked me to explain why I'd choose Lex over Alexander repeatedly to her. She has told me Lex sounds like you forget to finish what you're saying and Lex is all that comes out. She told me it sounds like a girly name. She has even told me to stop saying I'm Lex because my name on my birth certificate and all my documents is Alexander. She told me Alexander is a handsome and sophisticated name and I should be using nothing but that, and if I really need to, I could always use my middle name instead. Mom is the only person who still calls me Alexander, and last year I was even given a student log in with Lex instead of Alexander. Which is why this has become a big deal now. My school's back-to-school newsletter had a photo of me for a school club I'm the face of, and they called me Lex last name in the newsletter. My mom freaked out about it. She told me she gave me the name Alexander for a reason and I should stop trying to discard the name she lovingly chose for me. She also told me I'm screwing myself because people take Alexander far more serious than they take Lex. She called and complained to the teacher in charge of the newsletter too, which was humiliating. I got berated all afternoon after the newsletter went out Tuesday. My mom told me I need to make it right and to stop using Lex in school. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. It is completely fine that you go by your nickname as it is only an abbreviation of your actual name. Just make sure to remember to always put in your official one when booking stuff, etc. In the Netherlands, I know so many people who do it due to the tradition of people having pretty classic or old-fashioned names, e.g. I knew a guy by Dion, his actual name is Dionysus, or one of my friends goes by Annette instead of Antoinette. Signing up to uni they use the proper one and then just advise to use the go by, no one asks or is offended. All in all, Lex is as fine a name as any and not girly, even if it was, don't understand the issue. Your mom probably will never or will take ages to come around. You can try to explain why you prefer it, but otherwise I'd suggest that you might just have to accept her nagging. The only Lex I've ever heard of was Lex Luthor, definitely not a girly name, and at 16 you can absolutely decide what you'd prefer to be called. A-hole the age old, I'm going to give my child a name with several obvious nicknames, then get pissy when everyone uses one of said nicknames instead of the proper name, not the a-hole. This is a problem entirely residing in your mum's head. Lex is totally fine, though I have to say I've only heard it used as a female name. Unfortunately, your mother has to contend with the fact that her offspring will grow up and make choices, and one of those choices is about how people refer to them. I would let her know that you prefer the informal name. Inform her you are aware of her concerns, but ultimately it's your choice, and that it may well be that when you're older you may choose to use your full first name for official documents/records or job interviews or whatever, but right now, you're happy with Lex, but she's welcome to call you whatever makes her happy. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for demanding my parents not include my adopted siblings when we go out to dinner for my birthday? 5 years ago, my 15M parents adopted 2 of my siblings. I'll call them Cassandra, 17F, and Layla, 15F. 2 years ago, Luku, 2M, their biological younger brother, absolute light of my life, best boy, was born and surrendered, so he was placed with us too. Since they were adopted as preteens, a major priority for my parents was bonding with them 2-on-3. And they go to a lot of bonding things. They're constantly bouncing between adoption therapy, family therapy, which feels weird because I'm also part of the family. I'm only included once in a while, usually to be told I need to be less of a show-off, and every single bonding thing they can find. They also take them out after individual therapy, which I 100% support and would never admit to being jealous of IRL, but, God, I'm jealous of it. I know it's not the same, but I had 6 bouts over the summer and it was a miracle that they attended too. Which did not include the last fight or the family day. At least come for the catharsis of seeing me get whacked with a sword. Sometimes circumstances demand that I'm there, and I moved my schedule to make this happen more often. At first they let me hang to the side, but then they asked that I step back so I'm not engaging with whatever it is they're doing with my sisters because the bonding activities are supposed to be for them. Last night, I told my parents that I wanted them to do things with me, alone. That they were wildly favoring my siblings over me, and I wanted to have dinner on my birthday with only them. They didn't take it well, and threatened to send me to therapy. We ate in silence for a few minutes. I tried to tell them I won the season-long bracket, and they emphasized how much it was not a time to be bragging or doing anything except apologizing. They said my siblings are traumatized and in need of more support. They also accused me of believing my siblings aren't real, just because I wanted to have some time with my parents where it wasn't about my siblings. After dinner, Layla said she thought it was a good idea, and suggested we go out as a family but paying attention to me in particular for the whole week. That sounds incredibly embarrassing but amazing, I'd adore that, especially since I want to hang out with my sisters more anyway. Cassandra, though, pulled me aside and said that I had always been a spoiled a-hole, but that this was like a healthy man demanding stitches from a poorly stocked first aid kit because everyone else had them and he wanted to feel special. She said I should take a step back and realize that that was an awful thing to ask. I'm split between wanting to run away so my family doesn't have to deal with me and sinking into the comfort of self-pity. I just want my own parents, or my own siblings or somebody, to genuinely care about how I feel or be glad when I do something well. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Trauma healing is not a poorly stocked first aid kit where supplies only go to those most in need. Requesting one b-day dinner with only your parents so you guys can chat is not a rude thing to ask. It's not like you were expecting every week or something, just one meal out of the whole year. You are allowed to feel ignored and want to be acknowledged at least sometimes. I mean, they're also allowed to say no, they can't make it happen, since they would be footing the bill, I assume, but I don't get that whole apologize for having feelings and needs reaction. Maybe take them up on the offer to go to therapy and tell your therapist you feel ignored and that you feel that your emotional needs for validation aren't being met. They could likely offer you quality advice about how to handle the situation, give you advice on things like what to say and how to tell your parents. Therapists can be an amazing resource to talk to about how to navigate social situations and how to effectively communicate your needs to others in a healthy way. Because yes, your siblings have needs, but your needs and feelings matter too. Everyone matters. There's no need for the trauma Olympics, because seriously? My parents were abusively neglectful and had 5 kids, but I still got only me time with each of my parents. It was rare, but like it was there. Opie, you're not the a-hole. I do not mean this condescendingly, but as a statement of fact. You are a child. You deserve to have parents who are present and engaged in your life. What your parents do for your adoptive siblings is admirable. It sounds like they're genuinely doing their best for those kids. But it does not mean they can sacrifice you or your needs, or that your needs are less important or a lesser priority. There might be an argument for if there was a bad day and a parent had to rain check something to deal with someone navigating something big, but that isn't the case here. This is a clear pattern of behavior and you are asking your parents to be present in your life individually. It speaks a lot to your character that you talk about this the way you do. A lot of people are eaten up by resentment, and it's a fair emotional response, if they were, but you don't sound bitter. You just sound like a teenager who wants his parents to be present in his life, and you are not the a-hole for that. Do you have a guidance counselor at school? They might be a good resource to try to talk things through with to see if they can help you come up with ideas, and maybe even help intercede on your behalf. I'm sorry, Opie. You sound like a really, really good kid, and the way you talk about your adoptive siblings is so full of compassion and care. I hope someone starts acting with that degree of consideration in your direction, as you've offered everyone else. Opie, you're not the a-hole. I do not mean this condescendingly, but as a statement of fact. You are a child. You deserve to have parents who are present and engaged in your life. What your parents do for your adoptive siblings is admirable. It sounds like they're genuinely doing their best for those kids. But it does not mean they can sacrifice you or your needs, or that your needs are less important or a lesser priority. There might be an argument for if there was a bad day and a parent had to rain check something to deal with someone navigating something big, but that isn't the case here. This is a clear pattern of behavior and you are asking your parents to be present in your life individually. It speaks a lot to your character that you talk about this the way you do. A lot of people are eaten up by resentment, and it's a fair emotional response, if they were, but you don't sound bitter. You just sound like a teenager who wants his parents to be present in his life, and you are not the a-hole for that. Do you have a guidance counselor at school? They might be a good resource to try to talk things through with to see if they can help you come up with ideas, and maybe even help intercede on your behalf. I'm sorry, Opie. You sound like a really, really good kid, and the way you talk about your adoptive siblings is so full of compassion and care. I hope someone starts acting with that degree of consideration in your direction, as you've offered everyone else. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.